Ladies and gentlemen, to episode 149 of Bloody Thumbs podcast. As always, I'm joined by my co-host extraordinaire, C.H. Gorog.
Hello, ladies and germs.
And I am always here. Square 47. I Mr. No podcast days off. Been since the first episode. I don't know why I just thought of that all of a sudden, but figured I'd bring it up. I don't know why.
You are a dedicated host with the most, and you also might be thinking about it because 149 is just one away from 150, and, you know, we couldn't have done it without our... Well, first off, we couldn't have done it without you, man. You are just the workhorse, I don't know if that's an insult or not, of the entire podcast, and thank you so much. But also thank you so much to the wonderful people out there who keep submitting questions or responses, or just, you know, just keeping sending up a nice friendly letter. We always appreciate it.
Definitely, I've always enjoyed getting that feedback as much as we can in terms of questions and anything else related to the podcast. That's always been fun. I mean, we've always enjoyed doing this as a way just to get out our either frustrations or just get out our just joyfulness in the realm of video games.
And it might be very much joyfulness now, just because of some recent developments in terms of video games and of the like, and some local releases.
Definitely some local releases. If you want to jump in to the fray on that, we can definitely get started on that.
Let us enter into it and just talk about probably one of the most talked about games that has such a huge Ridley Scott-esque like advertisement for advertising. This game is actually its own downloadable game, which is Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes.
I was going to say Shaq Fu 2. I mean, that announcement, have you seen that trailer for Shaq Fu 2?
I have not seen Shaq Fu 2. I thought that was just like the Kickstarter was successfully.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a trailer for it. I don't know how far into development that is, but I mean, Shaq Fu 2, as we know it, will be existence. I mean, I called it. I mean, I said I got the exclusive.
You did call it.
I got the exclusive back at E3. Mr. Caffeine told me Shaq Fu 2 was going down.
Well, you had to catch him in between doing lines of cocaine in the bathroom, but you know, it's hard to tell when he's telling the truth and when he's being honest. But hey, you definitely told him, and I don't blame him that he just kind of went into a different rant there.
I know. I just had to bring it up. But yes, Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, one of the major releases. That and Dark Souls 2, which I mean, I got some things to say about that. Dark Souls 2. What a game! That's all I will say. But you had the chance to play a little bit of that, some Ground Zeroes.
Yeah. I spent a good chunk of time just trying to go for the story missions, and I gotta say I came across this revelation because I was just before this podcast. I was also watching Cosmos with my mom. It's not about a drink special. It's about the look at the universe, and with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and it was just because the one that they were focusing on was evolution, and I realized that the Metal Gear Solid franchise, while it's always so like a huge shift playing every single game, is because they all play differently. It's not like Halo or Call of Duty or Half-Life 2, where they're iterations and they change a few things around, which is evolutionary in my mind. But
right.
With Metal Gear Solid, every game feels really different. Like Metal Gear Solid 2 is not the same as Metal Gear Solid 3, especially with the 3D camera. Peace Walker is totally not like Snake Eater or Guns of the Patriots, and then you have this one, which is Ground Zeroes, which is taking place in 1975, I believe, and it's a lot of different changes right off the bat, where you don't have health packs anymore, or rations. It's damage that you recover from over time. You do a lot more of improvised weapon acquiring on site. It's an open world. The cutscenes are, it's funny because like Kojima said that he wanted the cutscenes to be shortened down, but if it's not anything but even lengthened out even more, because instead of having like the movie style like shot edit another shot edit, it's essentially just one long sweeping camera movement, and it's epic, and it must have taken God knows how long just to choreograph all of it and just think about it. But because of that, it definitely feels like, okay, we gotta really stay with it, and stay with there's a whole scene of Skullface, who's like the new baddie, I guess, that they're going to be teasing in Phantom Pain. Don't worry, you don't learn anything about him. That's even if you've seen the trailer, that's all you really get of this guy.
Right.
And you follow him when he's driving from a prison camp to the helipad in real time. So there's no editing to another place where it's just like one long, seamless, beautiful but very long cutscene. And I don't know if that's going to be indicative of the rest of the Phantom Pain, but it was very beautiful. A lot of you don't have that big backpack of inventory stuff. You can only carry, I think, 2 guns at most. No, I'm sorry. It's one main gun, a sidearm, like a grenade or something else, and then your night vision goggles.
Right. I hear you.
And they also they do something at the end of Ground Zeroes, which is, holy crap, that was really dark. Especially, even considering the metal. Wow, I can't believe they talked about that or did that or showed that, or they definitely do something here, which is wow, you're gonna get people in angry mobs going after the developers for doing this. But I gotta say, wow. Now I'll say this before, as I said to you before we started recording.
Right.
The story for Ground Zeroes, it's a nice setup for Phantom Pain, and you have a lot of fun in it, and you can do a lot of side missions after the main story's done, and you can waste a lot more time with freeing prisoners, because this is, I think, this is Cuba. I think it was supposed to be kind of the prototype of Guantanamo Bay. But essentially what happens is it's a short story. It only kind of 3 big things sort of happen, where they're not in completely wow, oh my god. Okay, these are 3 threads that are kind of going on, and they're eventually going to come back eventually, but later, and to be more discussed. But this is a nice setup. It's not huge, but I gotta say it's a great expenditure of some monies, if you have any. And it is it's I would say, for Metal Gear fans, it's definitely a solid buy. Solid. Metal Gear, solid. I made a joke and I thought I was funny, but much like most of my exes, they don't think that's funny. But yeah, it's good. Oh, and Kiefer Sutherland, he actually makes a very good Snake.
He gets a good amount of dialogue in there. I thought it wouldn't be as much, cutscene or dialogue heavy in this one. Just more of a, getting your whistle wet for what to expect at a little bit of a small percentage, and waiting for Phantom Pain, which is going to be even more expansive from what they've been saying.
I mean, he does the he doesn't get too much to emote, because this time around it's kind of like a very straightforward mission. But the one that I really got an impression of is that Kiefer Sutherland Snake is, and this particular version of Big Boss / Snake, he's a lot angrier than, and that kind of goes on more towards the end. And he's a lot more expressive than I think Solid Snake or Naked Snake was in the past. And I definitely think that's going to come back. But he hits on a lot of the archetypal tropes of Snake, where he says the "kept you waiting" line. He repeats a good amount of dialogue, and that makes me happy. Just like, okay, you have to keep constantly repeating plot points, like Metal Gear. What is that, Colonel?
Colonel.
What the hell? A bisexual vampire. Just random stuff, and it is just it's also a little bit strange because if you played Peace Walker, then Huey, the father of Hal Emmerich, is in that game, and he's voiced by a particular actor, and that actor actually reprises his role for Peace Walker. So it's a little distracting at first that he's actually voicing that character, and David Hayter isn't. I don't know. I have a feeling they might be doing something with that later, but
who knows?
Yeah. So, I gotta say, this is a beautiful looking game. I just want to know how many goats they sacrificed to the gods to get the to get this the specs looking so good. Even for the the 360 PS3 range, they look pretty damn good.
Yeah, I was watching comparison videos of it, and it looks like the PS4 is the way to go. It looks the most crisp, but it's good to know that it looks as solid. Oh, I just made that joke. As solid on the 360 as well. I mean, that goes to show. I mean, the 360's got some life. 360 and PS3. I mean, it's still got more years to go. With some of these games.
You know my stance on the whole matter, but apparently the rest of the video game industry doesn't.
Well, I mean that initially was going to be a console purchase for me, and then when it turned out the game wasn't as expansive as I thought it was going to be, I'm holding off till probably later on this year when Arkham Knight comes out. Oh,
ooh,
Arkham Knight.
Yeah, we can talk about that one.
So it's good. You're enjoying yourself with Ground Zeroes. I don't know if you played it more than a couple times, because I like those kind of games where you can go back and replay missions and tackle them in a different way. That's what I love about Blood Money, and
ooh, yeah,
that's what I hear about Ground Zeroes. You can kind of do the same thing as well. Do a variety of different things and tackle it in a certain way. Second time going in.
Yeah, it is like that in terms of you're essentially dropped off in the same place, but you can change how you get there. It's essentially a nice big bit of open world, so you can go through the sneaky route where you can just walk your way into wherever you need to go, just hiding, or you can take a vehicle, which is nice. They control pretty well. The weapons are nice and diverse, and instead of shaking your enemies for ammo, you interrogate them to see where ammo dumps and storage are, and then you can go there, and just a very large range of things you can do. And I like it.
Yeah, that and you can play the missions day or night, right? Day or night.
Yeah, it's I don't know if the main Ground Zeroes mission can be selected at night, but I mean during the day, because it seems like it's just taking place at night. But the side missions, you can definitely select, what time of day it is, and I think your clock is reading. So, like, your internal clock could be reading like 8 o'clock p.m. and then you'll be playing at night, versus like 10 o'clock a.m., which we'll be playing during the morning with sunlight.
Damn, that's an interesting mechanic. If I want to get the most out of it, gotta switch those clocks. Like I used to do with Arkham City, where you would adjust the clock so you can get those Calendar Man quotes. So rather than just wait for those holidays to come, I just want to hear what they got to say.
Maybe if you turn it to Halloween, Snake, comes up wearing the Raiden mask. He's like, didn't keep you waiting, huh?
Oh man, that'd be an Easter egg. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Kojima to do that. Put that Easter egg in there.
There's actually something in there. One of the missions has one of the. I absolutely love this ending because it just goes to how deep and I freaking hate it when people use this word, but meta his kind of sensibilities are in terms of how he views video game design and everything, and it's a good laugh at, I think, both the series and himself as a creator. So one of those is pretty awesome. But there seems to be a lot of the more eccentric elements of the game seem to be toned down a little bit. Where, when probably even at the beginning of Metal Gear Solid 3, where you have, the Pain who can control bees, and meeting the End who, it's like the quick snippets of everyone. Like the End is like his bulging eyes out of his socket, and it doesn't have that. It has, essentially the most ridiculous part is probably Chico, but that's for another reason, and the Skullface, or whatever they call him, just because he's just like, oh, it's a burn victim, and everyone's not peeing themselves in horror when they walk around him.
That seems that seems quite interesting, man. I gotta play this as soon as possible. See what it's doing. Tackle it day and night. Adjust my clock.
Day and night.
I hope it takes into account daylight savings time.
When daylight savings time goes into effect, Snake just stands there and goes, "Damn farmers!
Damn farmers!
Farmers, they don't need the extra sunlight. It's an outdated practice."
Yabba dabba doo.
Oh, I cannot wait for more of the Kiefer Sutherland coming up in Phantom Pain. But for right now, I think this is going to tide everyone over. The story is a bit shorter than I think a lot of people were thinking of. But what I like about it is that it's not artificially padded out and enjoyable. And, me being... I love really well-constructed one-take shots. I know this is going to be very, very small minority, but I love the Goodfellas shot where they're walking into the back of the restaurant and going through the kitchen.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
And just the opening scene of that's very well done, just because you have to think of the logistics of it all. And I love the fact that, in movies you have to, when you're trucking the camera forward, or essentially when you're moving it physically and you're not zooming in for enlarged image of the character, you have to have the actors move out of the way because their shoulders are going to bump the camera. So they, very carefully kind of make the actors kind of fall away to the wayside when the camera's coming forward. But this one, because there's no camera, you can essentially just go right over the soldier's shoulders past their ear, and it's like something like that. That little thing that just makes me happy.
Those small touches. Yeah, I hear you. That sounds good.
And Hideo Kojima is a big fan of cinema, where he, there's a song from Ennio Morricone in here, "Here's to You," and just it's one of those songs. I think he's got that Tarantino sensibility where he picks songs that you wouldn't expect to work in the scene, but in practice, it actually works very, very well. And I love it.
All right, looking forward to it. How do you feel about that whole notion of this being put out for about $30 or $20, depending on how you get it, and whether this or not feels like it could have just been a part of Phantom Pain? Maybe hold off until that comes out to play this beginning segment. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I feel that maybe, I don't know. I would have to actually play the Phantom Pain, but Kojima has gone on the record saying that Phantom Pain is, I think, 400 times bigger than Ground Zeroes, and I don't know if this was whether or not it was just a stunt to get people kind of prepped up for the tone of the story or the new gameplay changes that Kojima and the company have in store. And but I don't know. I mean, I would have to play, as you said, actually play Phantom Pain to understand if, like, no, this could have been put in there, or
Right.
if it's just for pacing issues. Like, maybe he wanted it as an artistic statement, like to have, because Phantom Pain, I think, has Snake waking up from a coma for like 10 years, and maybe he wanted that effect going on of, us like waiting around and waiting around and waiting around, and then finally waking up with the game, the Phantom Pain, and then just like, oh yeah, we were in a coma for this long.
That sounds about right. I'll probably be in a coma in time for Phantom Pain, because I can't wait till that comes out.
Are you gonna Cartman yourself and freeze yourself in a block of ice and wait for it to come out?
I mean, whatever works, man. I mean, I got to do that, or just get knocked in the head, Three Stooges style, and hopefully wake up in time for the game to be ready and in my hands.
Hey, if you use that hammer and hit yourself hard enough on the forehead, then maybe you'll think that you are Snake and have your own adventure going through the supermarket.
You know what? This beats anything Oculus Rift related. Or I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna let you know what happens. I'm gonna film it and tweet about it, and see how it goes. Hopefully, I don't get arrested or shot.
That sounds pretty. That sounds pretty good, but I do want to know more than anything else.
Yes, sir.
How in the world can you endure Dark Souls 2?
Dark Souls 2.
Yes.
Oh, I like to torture myself. Yeah.
I assume you guys are just like into flailing yourself like the albino priest from the Da Vinci Code movie, where you're just like, oh man, this is such a fun time. You got to give it a try. Like, I don't think I want to use this, but thank you.
No, I mean, I'm actually having a better experience with this than I did with Dark Souls. I think this entry, Dark Souls 2, definitely makes things a bit more accessible. I think that's, the best way to put it. But it doesn't make it easy at all. It's still hard as balls. But they make things a lot more convenient for you, because the first Dark Souls, you get to bonfires, which are the save points in the game. That kind of a time for you to gather your resources and head out into the unknown. But the problem was, like, not even till later on in the game, if you get far enough, you'll have the ability to warp, to kind of fast travel between locations. And before you even get to that point, you have to physically get to an area if you want to get to that place. You can't really teleport anywhere. You have to get there on foot, and there's no fast travel at all until later on in the game, when you get far enough and beat a certain boss. But,
those are the campfires.
Yeah, the Kindle Fires. We can do a variety of things there. Level up. A lot of things. This one makes things a bit simpler. Right out of the gate, you're able to fast travel from all the bonfires you visited, just to kind of make things more convenient for you. If you want to take a break from an area and go somewhere else in the distance, you can go back to it as long as you're near a bonfire, or use an item that can get you to the last bonfire you rested at. There's a lot of mechanics in place. This is definitely a lot of fun. I would say this is it's like a hardcore Zelda game. I think that's the best way to put it. You're leveling up. You get to areas that you probably shouldn't be in, but if you're lucky enough to run by tougher enemies to get at a certain item and get the hell out of there, and yeah, you can definitely do that. Some areas are definitely boss battle areas that you can't escape until you beat the boss, or die and get to the last bonfire. There's a lot of things in motion, and you can definitely interpret it was the same for the first game. Like, there is a story to it, and you can kind of ignore it, or really get into the lore by just kind of listening to what characters say. And the game doesn't outright tell you what you're supposed to care about. It just kind of leaves stories, trails all over the place. And if you want to kind of get into the lore and have any interest in what's going on in the story, I mean, you can definitely invest yourself in doing so. But it doesn't really spoon feed you anything. Even in the gameplay, a lot of the things you gotta figure out on your own, like what you can't or can't do and things like that. It's just a lot of trial and error. Is the best way I can put it. But no, this one's really good. I've had a lot of fun with it. You can definitely also summon other players to assist you with boss battles. That's been the most helpful, because some of these bosses are, they're outright powerful. I mean, they can take you out in 2 hits, and they're
seen them big ass ugly goblin trolls just like butt bumping people left and right.
Yeah, just amazing. A level of detail in terms of the environments and bosses are really unique. I mean, similar to the first game. There's definitely, the level design is really, really fantastic. Like, there's certainly some areas you can miss. You can completely miss a bonfire and not know it, because the levels are so well detailed. If you're not really focused or paying attention to your surroundings, you might just outright miss it, and it's so obvious as well if you take a look at it, because it's just the way that it's angled. Like, there could be some stairs you may not see and believe there's nothing there, but if you get closer to it and aim the camera in a certain way, you'll see that there's a stair, like a stairwell to get down there, and you're lucky enough to find a bonfire to save if you want to get back to that area. It's a fantastic RPG there, CH. Like the first game, I don't know where the hell I'm supposed to go. Where am I supposed to do to beat the game? I'm just kind of traveling and going into random places I've never been. I just recently fought an interesting boss battle where I'm fighting a bunch of rats, and then there's like a main boss rat that is similar to all the rats. The problem is there's all these bunch of rats can inflict poison on you, and if you get poisoned, your health go down drastically, and you only have limited amount of healing items. And you have to take out the boss in order to kind of get all these rats to get away from you and just scurry out of the way. But they all look the same, so you have to really pay attention and see which one's the... You just pretty much have to attack randomly until you find out which one's the boss rat.
Wait a minute. So the boss rat is not like bigger, like, oh, here's the big king rat. Like, no, it actually looks exactly like all the other rats.
Exactly. It shows the name of the rat. It shows their health bar. But you have to figure out which one's the boss rat by just attacking them until you notice which one is the actual boss and is losing health. And there's a lot of things in motion. You just have to evade attacks in order not to lose and die. And you just gotta keep track which one's the rat. And I've lost track so many times. I just start swinging my sword around because they keep respawning. So you just don't know which one's the boss rat until you actually kill him.
I'm just expecting you to like get like a big block of Gouda cheese and just like throw it over a mountain cliff to like lure them all away. Yeah, that was one of the most interesting boss battles I've ever encountered. I think it's a really unique way to tackle a boss. Rather than just a traditional giant boss, they just went ahead and made it untraditional and just and unique at the same time. I really like that. That was an interesting boss that I encountered my last playthrough. But yeah, it's good, man. I definitely recommend it. It's definitely not for the not for the impatient. I think you gotta have some patience with it. It's not really a hard game. I mean, you gotta learn it. You gotta adapt. You gotta play the game differently than you do normal games. This game does not play around. It definitely requires you to be patient and also learn or kind of understand some enemy patterns. You just can't just spam the attack button because you're relying on stamina. So your attack uses up stamina, and if you run out of stamina, you can't really evade until it kind of refills back. And if you can't evade, you're gonna get hit, and you most likely will die because some of the enemies any enemy in this game could take you out easily.
And there's no exceptions in this game. Any enemy in this game could kill you in seconds.
Even the rats.
Even the rats.
This game
rats.
should have been just called "You're Going to Die," the video game.
Pretty much. I mean, that's their whole slogan. It's an awesome game. I'll definitely recommend for newcomers to play this one first because it's the most easier to get into. I think they made it a bit more convenient on some things. It's still challenging, but I think they made it more convenient in terms of adjusting a little bit of the inventory management. Is still not great, but it's a lot better than the first. They give you a nice help. You can hit the back button and it gives you kind of a little bit of brief explanation on what some of the stats mean, like you're leveling up endurance, vitality, a bunch of other things, and they tell you exactly what it's for. And if it's depending on which character you're going to go ahead and build, whether it be a mage or a warrior or swordsman, all these different kinds of classes. It just mainly depends on your play style. I mean, I ended up playing the swordsman, which he has 2 swords that he can use at the beginning, but that's not really my play style. I'm more of a shield and sword guy because I'm not the best at evading attacks or timing enemies' patterns. So I always like to have a shield and ensure that I don't get hit and die in seconds.
Now, pausing the game to look at your inventory, does it stop the game completely, like the world around you stops, or is it just like real time, like opening it up, crafting it, and then and then like a giant wood nymph like crushes your head between a log?
you gotta be careful with that because there is no pause menu. Like there's no button in the game that will pause the game. So if you gotta step away, you better get to an area where there's no enemies around and just leave it there, because there's no pause at all. At all.
To actually save at like a fireplace or campsite, or does it like just keep going?
Fortunately enough, this was the same with the first Dark Souls. It does auto saves every. I'm not sure what the formula is, but it does do auto saves every pretty good frequent pace. So you don't have to necessarily get to a bonfire to save. Like, you can exit out of the game if you're at a location. If you just want to stop somewhere, you can stop at any part of the game and just go to the menu and save and quit, and it'll save you. When you load it up, you'll be at that exact same place. So you don't necessarily have to save at bonfires. The bonfires are mainly your go-to place to save, but also just you can also do it to rekindle some of your healing items. Some of your healing items are limited to what you can use. So when you go to your bonfire, they kind of refill automatically. So let's say you got 6 healing items, which mainly are just things you drink. If you use them all up, the only way to refill them is to go to a bonfire. That's the way to do it. But pretty much, you can save at any time. It's no problem, which is good. You can save it at any time. It does auto save, so if your game crashes, you don't have to worry about losing any data. It should have at least a relatively pretty recent save from the last time your game may have crashed or something like that.
Well, that's nice to know. That's at least a little bit more. Well, actually, is it more favorable than Dark Souls or Demon Souls?
I would say it's. I didn't play Demon Souls, but Dark Souls was the only problem I ever had with it was just getting from location to location. That was the most challenging part of it. This one is a bit. It makes things a bit more easier to get around. That was my only issue with it. You had to physically go to, if you wanted to go to a location, like you wanted to go back to a certain location to check something out, and you couldn't just fast travel to it. You had to physically go there and remember where it was, which it's not like it gives you a map. There's no map at all, so you gotta remember.
There's no map.
There's no map.
Oh.
So you gotta remember where that place was in order to get there in Dark Souls. But in Dark Souls 2, it does give you kind of a little image of that area, so it kind of gives you a little bit of reminders. Okay, I think that's the place I want to check out that I was at before last time, so I'll go over there. But that makes it a little bit more convenient that way. So you don't have to remember areas in Dark Souls 2 that much.
I'm fair. Okay, now I think we're just going back to the circle of time where our ancestors like had to get a piece of paper and like jot down like, it was near by the flowing brook near the giant rock. That's where I encountered the creature with snarling teeth. It's like, and that's where I found this really cool sword. So I gotta load it back up and find it again, or you know, it's gonna be lost.
Definitely. I mean, you could easily have done that for Dark Souls. I never did that because it's too much work. That's the level of like text adventure type of work you're doing there, right? Jotting things down. That's old school. Yeah.
Working back of the pamphlets, the book pamphlets that they got, little booklets.
I'm digging Dark Souls 2, man. I'm having a better time with it and getting along with it a bit further. I feel like I'm getting a lot more done and progressing more than I did in the first one, which I didn't progress at all because I just kept dying and just didn't know where to go, and I just kind of was lost with that. Never beat Dark Souls, but I got a feeling if I get lucky, I might beat Dark Souls 2 if I know what the hell where am I supposed to do or where am I supposed to go. But I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking as closed off from anything else without it telling me what I'm supposed to do. I like to discover things on my own, just like that rat boss battle. That was unique. I had no idea that was in the game. That was just that was a cool boss battle.
And unfortunately, I'm kind of the opposite, where I try to stay away as much as I can, but I can't help but like sniff at plot points or important things to get, but I also want to find the good stuff now. Come on.
Oh yeah, there's definitely one thing that I wouldn't blame you for researching it. There's this ring in Dark Souls 2 that if you get it, the initial different thing about this is Dark Souls 2. When you die multiple times, your health deteriorates to 50%, and it stays that way until you can get an item that turns you human, and your health goes back to 100%. So pretty much every time you die, you lose little bits of health. I'm not sure what the percentage is. I would say probably 5-10% until you get 50% health, which makes the game even a lot more challenging because you got half your health because you die so many times. But you get this ring that you only lose like 25% of it, so you have at least 75-80% of your health. So that's better than 50%, and that's a very valuable ring to find.
Yeah, but isn't it whittling down every time you use it?
Your health, if you do use that ring, it doesn't go down to 50%. It just it stays. It only goes down to 25% overall. So every time you die, it goes down until it gets to 50%. So that's it. It won't. If you die multiple times, it'll stay at 50%. But the point is that you have half the health, and the health you have is really really critical against enemies and bosses. So that ring really helps because you only lose a total of at least 25% of it. So that's not too bad considering losing 50%.
Yeah.
I'm a masochist, I know.
Yeah, that's cool. That's quite a trade-off.
Yes. And they also have a it's just like any other RPG. They have a weight limit. Not a weight limit, but you do move slow and roll slow if you have too much stuff on. So you got to keep you got to manage your weight of stuff that you currently have equipped. Armor, weapons.
Dude, I can't manage my weight in real life. What in the world do they think that I'm going to be able to manage it in a video game?
I know they ask a lot of you, but this is it's quite a rewarding experience there, CH.
Nice. Thought of San Andreas looks like Jabba the Hutt.
I mean, you could make a character like that. That character creation
With a
is
kingpin of crime.
that character creation is quite it's quite an interesting one.
Ooh, in Dark Souls 2?
In Dark Souls 2, it's no if you see videos of it, it's quite, you can make a weird ass character either with a concave face or make just a really weird smiling black guy. It's
Make
so
Big
weird.
Bow. Please
Big
tell me
Bow.
you made Big Bow.
I tried to, but you could definitely make Big Bow. You could definitely do it. I try to make the character close as Geralt from The Witcher as possible, but they didn't let me put a scar over his eye. So I mean, he looks almost like Orlando Bloom from Lord of the Rings. So that's close enough.
I mean, as long as you don't have him shooting bows and arrows and having them pointy ears while he's wearing a green tunic, then nobody's gonna sue you for copyright infringement.
I know. I'm glad I'm safe on that. But you should definitely check out Dark Souls 2 sometime, CH, or maybe the first Dark Souls if you want to give it a shot. Give it at least 30 minutes before you stop playing it. I know it's pretty cheap these days, that first Dark Souls. It's a very well made game. So I mean, a lot of it depends on your patience and how you go ahead and tackle it. So it's definitely worth your time there. I mean, there's a lot of content in there, and for the price, I think it's well deserved full price game.
Well, I would absolutely love to. I just currently have to work through my repertoire of things that are very pressing that I need to work on. Like, I'm still getting my butt kicked in Witcher 2. So the Witcher. I don't know why I keep thinking of. Yes, I do. I keep thinking of the Ripper. Just the da da na 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 da. You're in for a surprise. You're in for a shock. Ah! I can't do it good.
Raiden, when he goes into full beast mode, he's Jack the Ripper. He's gonna let it rip.
I tell you, if they had Dark Souls Guitar Hero, it would just be like a billion buttons on screen at once. He's like, you missed one. Start at the beginning. No!
that would sound like a great representation of Dark Souls Guitar Hero.
This is on Novice. Why am I doing Cliffs of Dover?
This is amazing. This is crazy.
Listen, I am not Herman Lee. You cannot give me this and expect me to master it immediately.
So you've been getting into some Witcher 2, man. You gotta play that. You gotta play some more of that.
I did, but due to a wonderful autosave correction that whenever your Xbox turns off, it's unplugged. Like the electricity stops going to it, the internal clock just essentially resets back to the launch date of the 360, which is like September 27th, 2007.
Usually like 2005, something like that. Yeah.
It's so far back that I'll save it and then occasionally I'll switch up my, I'll bring my laptop downstairs to work on something and then play Witcher 2 and not realize that the autosave feature essentially, because of how the save feature is, it doesn't register that I have, like, the most recent save is a save that I don't technically have from my save data. Like, it only recognizes the most recent ones, and the most recent ones are not from 2005. And so, like, I'll go through all that process and just realize, oh yeah, it's not going to recognize any ones of these.
Oh,
that's too bad.
That's so weird. Yeah, because I usually never worry about that because I always just unplug my Xbox, and since I have the network adapter, I mean, I just plug it back in and turn it on, and it usually resets the time to the corrected time when it gets online. So I could definitely see how that is an issue. I think I've had that before happen to me, where I think I had maybe a Blood Money save that I played offline. It had the date like 2005, like that system default date, and it unfortunately didn't prevent me from playing it. But yeah, I can see how that could be could be an issue there. It's weird that they didn't kind of take a look at that, considering some people may not always have internet access on their Xboxes.
And I love playing through The Witcher 2, and it's a very rich universe. However, it's just a little bit irritating, just because sometimes I'll need to talk to someone, but there won't be an indicator as to who, so I'm just going around pressing A. Oh, do you want another side quest? No, I got like 20 other side quests. Please, I don't need that armor so badly.
Yeah, I see what you mean. There were definitely some points where they said you had to talk to this guy. I was like, and I was looking at that. I was like, who the hell is that? It's hard for me to keep up everybody's names here. I don't remember if I talked to him. And there was definitely some instances where I had to look up where the hell I was supposed to go and who I was supposed to talk to in order to get things done. I don't know if it does explain to you anything, as I don't remember ever using it, but I know that the 360 version, which is I think it's the enhanced edition for that. It's going to be available anywhere you get it, but it does have the that quest booklet in there. I don't know how much detail it gets into you. I don't think it's a replacement for a game facts or anything, but I think it at least guides you to the right direction.
It's amazing how I tried to look at it a couple times, but because it was difficult trying to pinpoint where I was and where the booklet would give me some helpful information.
Damn.
Yeah, but it's a very detailed log, and it's a very it's like they put so much work and effort into that.
Yeah.
And which is why I'm just so interested in seeing what CD Projekt Red does next, and they do a good work, and I'm looking for, and it may be Witcher 3, the Grim Hunt.
Wild Hunt. There you go.
The Wild Hunt. What we got. I assume just like gnomes on motorcycles at that point in time.
I wouldn't put it past them. That'd be cool.
But yeah, working on Witcher 2 because I deleted it. I was at the point where the chick was a dragon.
Oh, that was an awesome moment there. It could be quite infuriating if you don't prepare before that fight. You got to take some potions and things like that. And one of the few things that is not really necessarily wrong about the game, but there's definitely some points where you're automatically in combat. You don't know. It's like, oh crap, I forgot to take the potions to regenerate my health quick and higher attack on my sword. And then sometimes, depending on the situation. Yeah, you can't go back or do it. You can't do it during the fight. Especially if you're getting ambushed by dudes, you gotta. The key to that is always roll. I put a lot of work into my rolling stats, so that's how you survive that game a lot, by rolling out of the way.
Yeah, it's like that is. I've never heard of a game where your ability to roll is more favorably looked upon than your ability to deflect magic or to cut down opponents. Like, vitality, magic use, nope. Gonna put it all into rolling.
It's a great feature. I don't know if you've already sorted out. There's also this. I forgot what the actual spell is called, but it puts an electric force field on you. That's definitely something to invest some points in. That could help you out here, because if you upgrade it enough, you can get away with getting hit twice, and it also does damage to the enemies a little bit. So that could definitely help you out.
Ooh, I will definitely keep an eye out for that, because I did not do. You gotta understand, I'm the bruiser. I'm the straightforward guy. The more sub-menus I can get rid of and just enjoy the game, that's me. I don't like to craft. I don't even like buying things at the shop. What I do is just go in, on few rare instances, I'll go into the shop. But for me, I like looting the dead and just getting their weapons. And even if there's an obviously better sword in the shop, I'll wait to get it until later.
Yeah, I hear you. It definitely depends on your playstyle. That alchemy stuff and the the throwing objects like bombs and knives. I never bothered with that. I was more of a
completely separate game.
yeah. I mean, it depends on your play style. I'm more of a get a couple hits in, roll out of the way, get a couple hits, roll out of the way, that kind of guy.
So it is like Dark Souls 2.
It's almost like Dark Souls. I mean, that's kind of my strategy. Unfortunately, there's no shields in The Witcher, but I mean, The Witcher is not as challenging as Dark Souls. So I mean, that's something to put into perspective. So it's The Witcher is a cakewalk compared to Dark Souls 2.
Ah, damn it! I'm just gonna get my ass kicked in either game. I assume like the pamphlet that comes like with the booklet that comes with The Witcher 2 is like, okay, some of the lore, here's a map, here's the activity directions, some of the characters. In Dark Souls 2, you just open up, it's like, you're fucked. Damn it.
You could, you could always buy. I mean, this is one of the rare occasions where actually, I never bought a Prima guide for games, like for any game really, but that one there is a Prima guide available for Dark Souls 2, so that definitely would be a purchase to get into for some newcomers. I mean, I'm sure that'll probably definitely help you out. But it's interesting. Depending on how you want to pursue it, you could definitely look at some things online to figure out what are some do's and don'ts. That's definitely fine. There's really not much to spoil in terms of story unless you're looking to really get into a lot of the the lore, and it's a lot of the plot and stuff like that. It's very not spoon fed to you. It can be very it can be very obscure if you're not really invested into it. You're really not exactly sure too much of what's going on if you're not really invested into it, which is fine. I mean, if you're going to play for the gameplay, this is one of the occasions where definitely gameplay is the main focus of that game.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I dropped you right there.
Oh boy.
It's actually, you know what this sounds like? A lot of the Metroid Prime games, where the game it was the gameplay experience and the exploration and the finding new enemies and getting the best weapons and upgrading right. Like that's the part that people love. And then if you want to explore the lore, there's like a ton of it lying around. You just have to have the motivation to find it all.
Exactly. Yeah, I love me some Dark Souls 2. I did also play Castlevania 2, Lords of Shadow 2. That's the one.
Ooh.
I played that.
How'd you?
Yeah, it's a mix. It's a mixed bag. I mean, I really liked the first Lords of Shadow. I think it did a lot of things right that it did wrong. It definitely has some flaws, that first Lords of Shadow, but I really liked it a lot. I mean, it had a great level design. The presentation, the graphics for it are really outstanding for that old of a game. I think it came out in 2011 or 10, somewhere around there, and it looks fantastic. That game, it still holds up. It has a great visual and story presentation. I like it's almost like you're experiencing a story in a book that's kind of been told already, but you just kind of going through the motions here. I mean, each chapter of the first Lords of Shadow is it's narrated with like an intro by Patrick Stewart. I mean, that's awesome in and of itself.
Who doesn't love Captain Picard?
Yeah, I mean, you get that, and then there were some interesting mix of bosses, and it had a Shadow of the Colossus like boss battle in that game, where you're just kind of climbing around certain areas and attacking. It's pretty much Shadow of the Colossus. I'm not even gonna say it's like it. They almost ripped it off, but it was good. It was well done.
Did you put in the music while you were scaling it, just like in the background, just da 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 da?
that game had an epic soundtrack in and of itself. So I mean, that helped. That helped as well. Yeah, I mean, Lords of Shadow 2, they definitely picked up the pace in terms of the combat. It's a lot less God of War esque combat. It's a bit more faster, and switching weapons based is almost like it's a little bit more Devil May Cry. The combat, which was good. I mean, that was a good improvement. There's definitely a lot of some strategy and a lot of strategy and different ways you can tackle it. I mean, I don't think it's not just smashing the same button over and over again. It does require some precision timing in terms of counterattacks and things like that. You have to time parries in time, and then you can get some free hits on an enemy. It's good. I mean, the combat's fine. The thing that kind of let me down was the story. The story wasn't as interesting, or didn't really get me into it as much as the first one.
What is the story, by the way? I am not accustomed to the Castlevania universe outside of the first one. I know it has something to do with Dracula. Right. It's always something about Dracula.
Yeah, in order to get a little bit into the Lords of Shadow 2, I gotta give you a little bit of a summary of the first one. So you play the first one. You play is Gabriel Belmont. You know, he's one of the members of the Brotherhood of Light. You know, pretty much fighting any forces of evil. The whole story had you kind of go through kind of an adventure at he's trying to bring back his dead wife. And there's also some other.
Because that always works out.
I know. You would think, and he tries to bring back his dead wife because there's this item or something like that. I'm trying to remember exactly. It's been a while, but there's that, and there's some other subplots going on in that. And in the end, it's not even in the actual game. I think it's the DLC. He ends up having to turn into a vampire in order to defeat this other greater evil. And the second one deals with because the first one you actually fight Satan, I believe, at the end, which is a pretty awesome boss battle. And the second one, it's Satan's somehow returning, and the Patrick Stewart character Zolbeck comes to you for aid in order to help make sure he doesn't come back and defeat his disciples, in order to make sure that Satan doesn't come back and destroy the earth. And in exchange, he has this weapon that's gonna end Dracula's mortality, because he's kind of he didn't want to be a vampire, and he's just kind of struggling between keeping his humanity and also kind of being Dracula. So he doesn't really want to live because he's kind of tired of it. He's kind of tired of that immortality. So you go through. That's kind of the introduction for the second one. It does introduce some other characters from Symphony of the Night. Alucard is in this game.
Ah, cool.
And I'm trying to remember who the other one is. I mean, it's I'm not sure how well versed you are in the Castlevania lore. I'm sure it's. I've heard it's quite confusing. I'm not too into the Castlevania lore to really say anything other than Symphony of the Night. That's about it.
Yeah. The Dark Metamorphosis.
But but the story didn't quite keep my interest. There were some additions in this game that I really didn't like. There's some kind of unnecessary stealth sections where you just be turned into rats, and there wasn't as much puzzles in this one as there were in the first game. There were some really interesting, unique puzzles in the first Lords of Shadow. This one kind of reduces that. Really, not much boss battles are really as unique or as engaging in this one. There was hardly not as much as boss battles in Lords of Shadow 2. I think the one thing I'd say about it was it had a good decent combat. That's really all about it. And it does kind of sort of redeem itself at the like they had a really good strong final 2 hours. I will say that, but like the rest of the game just dragged on. There were some missions and levels that didn't necessarily have to be in there. They were just kind of there for filler, and it had that sort of problem. The first game did as well. The first Lords of Shadow, it was way too long. It felt like a long ass game. There are some parts that could have been cut. It needed some good editing in that game, but it was good. That first one, but it definitely needed some trimming. This one wasn't as long, but it definitely had some segments there. It was just obvious filler, just obvious filler. And I was kind of a little bit let down by this one. I really liked that first game. It had a lot of potential, but this one it doesn't really expand upon what it did in the first one in terms of its overall scope of things, story wise, presentation, everything else. The voice acting is really good. I will say that, as was the first one, but it just didn't really live up to my expectations of the first one. I expected a little bit more, and I hear stories already that through NeoGAF that they had a kind of a rough development cycle through some anonymous poster that apparently worked at that developer studio. So I don't know. There's a mismanagement that I guess caused some issues. I guess with some of the points in the game that weren't as strong as the first one.
Yeah, that definitely seems like, especially when team members get switched out and the direction's not there. It can turn out pretty bad. Like, for instance, probably most famously and probably used most often is Aliens Colonial Marines, where it was just like shopped around. The game was in development for God knows how long, and then also Duke Nukem Forever, and essentially anything Gearbox has been working on for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean those last titles really hurt them a lot.
Credibility and sales.
Yeah.
Oh boy, and I like Gearbox, and just going off a little bit tangent, but just they did the Brothers in Arms series. I love them for that, but they've been churning out some stinkers now these days.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll. I'm sure they'll bounce back. I just don't know exactly. Hopefully they learn from those past failures in terms of I guess sales and overall game wise. I don't know how much is to blame for them with Duke Nukem. I mean that's been in development for years. I guess they just added polish to it, and that's really all about it. But not sure how much blame should be placed on that.
You can't polish a turd.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I would say if you like the first Lords of Shadow, this one is definitely at least worth a look. I would say at a cheaper price, probably around a good price cut, at least $20-$30. I mean, it's definitely. I definitely wouldn't mind recommending it for that price, but not necessarily full price. It's a bit odd how these AAA games are not doing as well in terms of how they should be, how you would expect them to be. I think Kojima said something about AAA games. People are not interested in AAA games as much anymore because there's not much creativity going on there other than the same formula, depending on what the genre is.
Yeah, well, creative means risky,
right?
And risky means money, but riskier. And the biggest AAA games that came out recently were Titanfall, which is it's been getting good reviews, but everyone's saying like, yeah, it's a well built game, but there's that spark of imagination or creativity that really could have been done and used there. And then same with Killzone Shadowfall, where it's just like, yeah, it's still kind of the same old. I mean, there's no BioShocks, there's no Assassin's Creeds, there's no Portals, and I think AAA games have. I think video games are a very almost a faster aging bigger brother than movies because of their structure and their business models, of course, but it just seems like the movie industry is going through this as well, just because they're pumping in money, these huge blockbusters that, you know, because they aren't taking bigger risks with their blockbusters creatively, they're losing interest and they're losing money.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing that's going on with the video game industry, but I think it's just happening much more faster here because, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's just much more apparent. And I think the studio system is probably going to go through another bust. Not bust, I think we're a lot more knowledgeable than we were 90s, 80s style, but, you know, definitely like a shortening or a much smaller version of the current market. I don't think that we're going to be having as elaborate video games coming out, unless they're like the really, really big franchises.
I hear you. And you mentioned BioShock there. I don't think we talked about this because we haven't done a show since then, but about the whole Irrational.
Oh yeah.
Closing down. Well, not closing down. I think just I guess restructuring or becoming a more smaller studio.
Yeah. I gotta talk about my feelings on that and Ken Levine.
Yes.
Let me get this out.
All right, sir. The floor is yours.
Hear ye. So for those of you who need a kind of truncated version, Irrational Games essentially will be closing down after the release of BioShock Infinite Burial at Sea Episode 2. Ken Levine has stated that he wants this shut down as a sign of artistic integrity, and he's moving on to a much smaller game venue with a smaller team. Now, what this essentially means with that, it could be that 2K makes a new team, and I think they still have the rights to the BioShock name. But essentially what that means is that Ken Levine essentially just destroyed an entire company and all the people who worked there except for a very small portion. And while I understand that, like, and this is something that even Jim Sterling was not getting there, where it was like, yeah, I understand it's a bold move as an artist and that you want to make something that's creatively satisfying, but the fact still remains, you just put all those people out of work, and they're going out on now finding their own jobs. I think Ken Levine is a brilliant guy. I think he's an excellent writer, and frankly, the BioShock series is one of the greatest pieces of speculative fiction within the last, I would say, century. And and the fact of the matter is, though, this is not a cool move because you're affecting real people. And this is just, and I understand you want to make a statement in the industry and to do something that's liberating, but you're putting all these programmers and designers through the hell of finding a job in this incredibly unstable market. And it just blows my mind.
Right. Well, well, definitely the way you look at it. I mean, there could have been some different things done, maybe, but I don't know. I never made a game in my life, but I mean, I'm sure there could have been maybe something as a workaround without having to completely do that. Maybe just I don't know.
I mean, even if it was like 2K just taking the rest of the entire team and saying, okay, they're not going to be Irrational Games anymore, they're going to be, I don't know, 2K Irrational, or whatever that they want to call them.
Sure.
And it's just, the fact that Ken Levine did this sort of out of the blue, aiming from the hip, not really taking into consideration the ramifications that this has, and that 2K would have to actually pick up the slack and do this themselves and make a new team. that just speaks to me about really seem cool. That you did this entire thing to satisfy yourself, but you have to understand as project lead, you're also responsible for all these other people who work for you. Even if it's not directly on a project. I mean, they put their trust in you that you'll take them well off into... I mean, why don't you just step down like Cliff Bleszinski or Dave Jaffe, where, you know, they said, like, okay, you know what, my time is done. I'm very proud of my achievements, but I'll let someone else do it so I can pursue something else. Instead of just, like, burning down the bridge so no one else can cross it.
Right.
And I'm right there with you, Splinter. I think... I've never worked on a game before in my life, except for an ID Tech Camp thing where it was like pre-made game stuff, and I'm already a fucking nerd for bringing that up. But you know, I've never worked on an actual game on that scale, and apparently it's like the most stressful thing ever. It's like TV shows, movies, essentially anything you can think of. Yeah. In terms of art, at the last minute, there's always cramming in terms of like, oh, we need to get this ready, like special effects or editing or what have you. And apparently, video games blow all those out of the water in terms of how stressful it is, and just the horror stories of people working under like Bondi Games or whoever developed under Brendan McNamara for LA Noire. All those people who essentially were treated like mules, and then they get little recognition, they get little reputation. Their money is certainly not the millions that they get from that the company gets from those games, and it just really cheeses me off that, you know, Ken Levine is like, I want to make this statement, but he doesn't recognize the reality of it all. That his shutting down of the entire company. A very, very sweet ad somebody did from another business where they were saying, hey, people who worked at Irrational, come, we got a bunch of empty places here at our studio, just work here while you guys try to find a job. We're always open. Like, that's brilliant. That's beautiful. I wish I could remember what company it was. But essentially, I mean, he did this apparently without consulting anyone. And I understand that he may have been the lead on BioShock and then BioShock Infinite and just the spearhead of this, and this is his idea. But that doesn't give you the right to just, you know, kind of callously throw everyone else behind your back and say, whatever, it's not my problem, and then walk on.
Yeah. Definitely not the most thing. Definitely not the most thing that I would agree with to go about it. But yeah, I guess working on games, you know, it's pretty stressful and does make you do irrational things.
And he's living up to his company's name.
There we go. Try to sneak that in there.
You did it well, sir.
Yes.
I mean, Irrational. I wish all the people who are out of a job right now at Irrational and everywhere in the industry the best of luck. I kind of hope there's a new renaissance like there was back in the 70s of smaller movies. Now we can make smaller games, and you know, I just wish you all the best, just because the system that you're working in is obviously very flawed. And I think that you guys deserve so much better than kind of the treatment you've been getting now. But you know, I wish everyone the best, and I hope the heads of these companies understand the ramifications of what they do. Just does not only affect them.
Definitely gonna pour one out to them right there.
Yeah, pour that 40 on the curb.
Pour that out. Think about the fond memories of System Shock 2.
Yeah, System Shock 2, or if they ever, you know, get it for the, hey, you know, I'd love a System Shock 2 Anniversary Edition if they ever come out with it. But yeah, did the Sea of Dreams, not Sea of Dreams. That was the BioShock 2. It was like, that was weird. It was like the BioShock 2 subtitle, but then 2K Games said like, "Oh no, it's actually the title of the trailer." What? So it's not exact. It's like, oh, okay, whatever. It's Burial. I'm sorry.
It makes sense. Sure, let's go with it.
Totally. That's what every single company does. They nickname their trailers. And also, not only do they nickname their trailers, they tell everyone in the audience what their trailers' names are. Because that seems totally logical and like what a sane person would do.
Whoa.
I call this one Julia.
Julia.
With the wig, you remind me of...
Well, we'll see what happens and how things progress, and whenever episode 2 comes out, Burial at Sea.
All I know is that whenever Burial at Sea episode 2 will be coming out, it could be like 45 years down the line, and it will still be coming out before Half-Life 3.
Yeah, we'll keep that in mind, definitely. Damn it.
I mean, we can't make any more Duke Nukem Forever production jokes, but we sure as hell can make Half-Life 3 jokes.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that all day because we know it.
Or StarCraft Ghost.
It ain't happening.
Yep. It said Valve can't count to 3, but it's.
So we had the reference here earlier about we had the announcement or showing of the Batman Arkham Knight trailer.
Yes.
Which was very good. I mean, all the Batman Arkham games always have fantastic trailers attached to them. Pretty solid. I think I read a few things about this game. Not a whole lot is being put out just quite yet. I'm still kind of curious to see whether or not some of the speculations and things like that play out here, because it's I don't know if it's just a trailer or just or it's actually designed that way, but like some of the character models look a bit younger, and some of the cars in the game are a bit more classic. So I don't know if the game is going to be taking place sometime in the past or something like that, or there's some time traveling going on here. I hear rumors. Yeah, I hear rumors of Superman making an appearance in the game. I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, you can't be playing Superman in the game just because it would be like you start up the game, then you just turn from Clark Kent to Superman. Then it's like, use your X-ray vision. There he is. You go get him. That's God mode right there.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. I don't know how you could ever make a Superman game that could work. Just how based on the character like that, because it just doesn't make sense to have a game like that and have him die, because he's Superman. He can't. Unless he's getting shot with kryptonite bullets. Any form of any in-game death, it would just not seem right. Like if he just fell in the water like Assassin's Creed 1 and died, that would just not work.
Maybe that is Superman's kryptonite.
Superman desynchronized.
Well, I kind of think that Superman's sort of boring in the physicality stuff because he's essentially a god, and because he's so powerful, there's very little that can actually pose a physical threat to him before it just turns into like an episode of Dragon Ball Z where they're just like Super Saiyan punching each other and it doesn't look like they're doing any damage, or having the plot contrivance of kryptonite in there somewhere. And I always thought that Superman was really overpowered, and that they really should scale him back to, if not immensely, just at least to the early 20th century, like faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive. Like at least turn him back to that.
Go back to 40 Superman. Go with the 40s accent.
This looks like a job, Lois, for Superman.
That's the speeding bullet. Superman.
It's just like, it's like, Lois, what are you doing out here? Women shouldn't be around here. This is a man's job.
Should be up in the kitchen making some grub.
Or at least siring some new offspring for you.
Staying at home.
Here, let's all smoke a pack of cigarettes, because they're obviously not bad for us in this day and age.
Smoke a cigarette in the bar while the dame is giving birth. Having some ciggies with the boys.
Oh, those minorities, they make me laugh.
Well, yeah. My goodness. The 40s were an awesome time.
For everyone, and by everyone, I mean middle-class white men.
So with this Arkham Knight trailer, we finally get that Batmobile. It's got that Dark Knight vibe going for it. That kind of Tumbler look, very kind of, you know, Batman's ready for war, and his suit is it was also relevant as well. It's got the kind of, this is very, very weird steel armor. It's a lot more advanced armor than he's had in the past games. That looks pretty cool.
The other ones have been, you know, the balanced kind of look between Christopher Nolan universe and comic book Superman universe. Just it's got that, like, he still wears his underwear on the outside of his armor for some reason, and I like that. Just like the weird things. And then like this one seems a lot more like armored, a lot more inspired by Christopher Nolan. I'm a bit worried now because they show Penguin and Two-Face, and I don't think, or does he? Does Penguin have the glass bottle monocle?
I'm trying to remember. I think he does. He may not have. He may not. I have to remember to check out the trailer again. But yeah, there's definitely some slight character model inconsistencies compared to the past games, which I don't know if it's just a trailer or there's something more to it. I don't know. I mean, with some games you can tell it's more the case. Other ones it's just it looks like that just because of the CG trailer. I'm trying to think of an example that there was a trailer that was exactly indicative of what the game was going to be, or other ones that kind of weren't. Were just merely there for kind of show and getting you hyped. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Banjo-Kazooie next gen, or current gen, or last gen, or whatever you want to call it. The trailer for Nuts and Bolts, where it looked like the character models look great. Like, look, it's song pieces and jiggies. Like, this is great. And then it's like, okay, why were there no cars in this thing? Like that, wouldn't that be great if Arkham Knight turned out to be a kart racer? Where it's like, Penguin, I'm here to stop you. But first, let's go play another round on Rainbow Road.
Some supersonic racing. Let's get Sonic in here with his Allstate car.
Can you feel the sunshine? And the thing the reason why I brought up the Penguin and Two-Face characters kind of coming together, it's like, okay, it looks like they're having a gang war, but they're kind of working together.
The enemy of your enemy is my friend.
Yes, indeed. But I'm a bit worried that they're not going to focus on this. It's something that kind of I noticed in Arkham Origins, even just from the outside. I didn't actually play the game, but I did watch the cutscene stories, that they don't really focus. They they don't have a lot of fantastical or science fiction elements in there. And the one thing that really which was Killer Croc, was kind of immediately taken out of the picture fairly early on.
Yeah.
And it seems like this next game, I'm worried that I love the weird stuff in the Batman universe. I love Poison Ivy. I love Mr. Freeze. And it's, I feel like there's a part of that mythos of Batman that's missing when you just focus on only the crime elements. And yeah, I just because it's like this one overly serious man versus like a woman who can control plants, or a man who's made up those really weird things. The fact that he's so stoic in the face of it, he's like Dredd, where he's just like, listen, I got a job to do. You are not convincing me with your horseshit right now. We are getting this done. I don't care what you look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely enjoy those. Yeah, like you mentioned, those fantastical elements, like some of the out of this world characters that aren't necessarily just kind of straightforward enemies you would see in crime, crime thrillers, things like that, like Clayface or like you mentioned, Poison Ivy. There's definitely a catalog full of other characters that are kind of out of this world. Characters. I mean, like I guess
Solomon Grundy.
I mean, yeah.
Born on a Monday.
On a Tuesday.
That was just a great. I also love that part of Arkham City where you're just like, oh yeah, by the way, Solomon Grundy's down here. Now you have to fight him. There's no build up. It's just like, oh, he's here.
Yeah, just thinking about it. Yeah, just thinking about it now. There's a whole lot of things going on in Arkham City that just kind of get thrown in there, which is I can agree with to the point where I can agree with what people enjoy about the first one. It was more linear, more self-contained storyline. A lot of the introductions to characters and way you get around was a bit more consistent and not just thrown in there for the sake of it. Because Arkham City did have a lot of villains in there. Some of them were thrown in there just to be in there. Definitely,
I gotta say, Clayface as that. Well, first thing is the kind of the threat of like, ooh, I'll tell everyone you're Bruce Wayne, and then that never really comes up. It's like, oh, okay.
That had a lot of potential. Like they definitely at the beginning of the game, pretty much it pretty much set up that plot
wake
line.
up and you're just looking at him.
Yes,
you're looking up at Adam Sessler, and he's like, listen, I know who you are.
They had that set up. It was a very interesting setup, and then it just completely took a back seat with Batman like getting poisoned.
Yeah, and absolutely, and Ra's al Ghul and the League, and like Robin. Robin was only in there for like 2 scenes.
I mean, depending on how you look at it, I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, it definitely wasn't the most consistent storyline ever concocted in human history, but I mean it's definitely
especially not for superhero video games,
right? But it's definitely a lot of fan service, which I mean I'm a sucker for fan service, but
oh yeah, and that's why they got Catwoman in there.
Yeah, Catwoman's cool, but yeah, I mean.
You didn't play the game for Catwoman.
Yeah, I didn't play the game for Catwoman. I mean, I didn't buy the game day one to get Catwoman.
We all bought it for Calendar Man.
Exactly.
What will he say on this day?
God damn. I mean, that's worth $60 in and of itself. Giving me a chiller, creepy quote of the day for the holidays.
It's like those tear off calendars, but every day they just like a different creepy quote.
It's crazy. We'll see. I mean, it's going to be for the new consoles. There's no 360 PS3 ports. It's going to be exclusively for the new consoles. I'm curious to see how it turns out. I have to actually look at some gameplay before I decide whether or not I'm going to jump right in to get the game, because I really like the Batman games, and I mean I'll definitely figure out a way to play it. Curious to see how they handle having the Batmobile in there. Not sure how much effect it's going to have in terms of gameplay and things, how you get around. I mean, I hear it's a lot of the map and area. It's a bit bigger than the past games, which is a bit fine. You know, I mean, you got to get around somewhere. I mean, you're not going to add a car just to get from to get from across the street to the other side of the highway.
That's wasteful.
That would make sense, but hopefully, I mean, they've talked a little bit about making some slight changes in terms of the combat, keeping it relatively the same, but at least having some newer elements to at least make it fresh. That was one of the issues I had with Origins. It really didn't do anything new. I think it did things a little bit less better than the last one. The combat wasn't as fine tuned as Arkham City was. I felt that there's definitely some performance issues, and I feel that the combat wasn't up to par compared to Arkham City. If you play it, you'll notice there's a difference between that and Arkham City. It's not as well polished. It just doesn't feel like your button prompts are fine tuned to how you like it to be. It just wasn't as responsive as I felt that Arkham City was, because I know that I'm pretty good at the combat. So I mean I don't suck that bad that that I got hit a couple times in Origins. I never died too much, but yeah, definitely felt like that was the game's part, and not me. I mean, I know I hit the button right, but it was like a second delay.
Yeah, I got you. I think just trusting not having Rocksteady in the driver's seat really does showcase the the differences in terms of the teams behind it. Mm-hmm. And also the developers at Rocksteady, if you can hear this, please, for the love of God, can we please have a game where we don't have Joker as the main bad guy? I know we couldn't even get away from that shit in Arkham Origins.
I know, man.
Like, ooh, he's so awesome. He's the clown prince of crime. Like, yeah, okay. It's like, he's Batman's Moriarty. But you also know that Moriarty isn't in every single Sherlock Holmes story. You know, it's not just like, ooh, it turns out that he's actually Moriarty, or look at this random nurse walking around. It's James Moriarty. Like, come on, give him a break. Retire the number for a little while, and then come back later. When how can we miss you if you never go away?
Exactly. I mean, obviously with the comic books, there's definitely a lot of great stories that can be told in terms of the different types of villains.
Scarecrow.
Scarecrow, Batman. I like Hush. It was interesting.
Yeah, let's check out Hush. Let's see some of the really fringe ones, the darkly twisted ones. I want to see, there was Killer Moth in Origins. I want to see Ratcatcher and see what they do with him. Maybe he'll
that's obscure. Yeah, that's obscure. Batman villain.
Or Crazy Quilt.
Or I'm trying to think of the villain's name. I mean, it was almost a sub-villain. I remember in an episode of the animated series where I believe it was some type of villain that may have been under mind control, but I think he was just like spraying like ketchup and mustard on people or something like that. It was a very obscure. Like,
oh my god, we need to have that villain.
I'm trying to remember where that was, or what episode that was in the animated series, but that was silly.
That would be great. It's like, Batman, now you face your greatest challenge. It is I, the Condiment King.
The Condiment King, DLC.
I would love to, or just like take some of the villains from Batman Beyond and repurpose them. Like they did that with Snake Lady in Origins, Rattlesnake, Copperhead.
Right.
Yeah, it's where they repurposed her for that game. Like, why not repurpose from some other Batman mythos?
I mean, we'll see. I mean, this is going to be apparently the last game that Rocksteady is going to be doing for Batman. I'm sure they'll still continue on putting out Batman games after this. Bang. After this, I hope they go out with the bang, since this is going to be the last Batman game they'll do. You would think so. Hopefully, I got some confidence. I mean, the Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, both solid games for Batman fans. I mean, that's mainly what they've. That's mainly the games they put out. I mean, they had one game before. They had one game before that came out. What was that? What was that again?
It was Riot Police, or
yeah, it was like a first person shooter. I never played it, but mainly their their claim to fame
is
those Batman games.
Arkham Asylum, who that was incredibly like game of the year material right out the gate. Oh, here it is. Urban Chaos Riot Response.
Urban Chaos.
I wonder who was in charge of this decision. Like, you know what? These guys are the next generation. Like, it's a first-person shooter, and it was released on the PS2 and the Xbox, so they had no workings with the 360 PS3 generation.
I mean, it goes to show you. I mean, if you got a good license and creative people behind it, I mean, they could pump out a solid game.
Damn true. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope the game knocks us out of the park and leaves us with like, yeah, that was a damn good series.
Yeah. So other than that, you've been playing anything of recent? I mean, like I mentioned, I've been playing some Dark Souls, Castlevania. I finally beat I Am Alive. I was like one mission away from the ending because I stopped playing it because I got kind of I just didn't go back to it because there's this one part where there was a variety more enemies than you normally encounter in that game, because it's more about resource management than anything else, because you're limited to what you have since it's the post-apocalypse. So you have to be kind of strategic on what you're going to use. So if you have like a bow and arrow and there's like 3 guys and one of them has a gun, you want to take out the guy with the gun first, and then get your arrow back from him as fast as possible without getting hit, and then just take out the guys with the gun and then an arrow again, because everything's limited in that game. So you have to. It's almost like a puzzle. It's almost like a puzzle game. So you have to figure out what you have to do first and take out the enemies accordingly in order to get through it. And there's also some platforming in that as well. So I beat that, and I was just like one mission ahead, and then I kind of cheesed my way through it. So I got lucky on that.
For myself, I've been replaying some Call of Duty Gunslinger. Call of Juarez Gunslinger.
Oh, I heard that's a pretty solid. It was a rail shooter, right? I mean, you could. Is that a rail shooter, or is it a first person?
It's linear first person shooter,
right?
Where essentially you have, you're following a path, but I'm just a huge sucker for westerns, and
I hear you.
This was really, really good, just because it's all about this old drunk who comes into a saloon talking about his, famous glory days, and it starts off okay enough. It's like, okay, here's where I got kidnapped, and then it's like, oh, he starts meeting people who are like famous, like Billy the Kid or Wyatt Earp, or any number of like anyone you can pick out from like the famous Western days. Like he's met them apparently, and then his story gets progressively more exaggerated or strange. Like there's a point where he's talking about like, yeah, I was surrounded by hundreds of Native American warriors, and there's only 3 in front of you, and then it's like, are you sure this is the story? And it's the unreliable narrator thing, and you don't know how full of it he is, which is actually a very, very interesting narrative device. It's like, oh, okay, well then where is the story going to go? And it's a really fun game. It's got first-person shooter where you can get 2 guns and a third main one with like a rifle, a shotgun, or a rifle, shotgun, or I can't think of it at the moment. No, you have 2 pistols. Like you can, and it's just different types of rifles and shotguns. I'm thinking of.
Okay.
And then you get dynamite that you can throw like a grenade. You can split them up, and there's all these cool little abilities you can do. Like if you toss your dynamite, you can actually hit a button in midair that like splits them into 3 different sticks for a wider range of damage. Or you got your bullet time, or you've got the ability to
to regain focus more from headshots, and just very, very cool stuff. Oh, also there's like, if you're on the verge of death, what you can do is like, you see a bullet coming right at you, and then you can just dodge it to the left or right, and then you essentially survive right then. Like, that's your last chance to live. And there's cool little quick draw events that are awesome, and a very, very fascinating art style, because everything's almost comically exaggerated, kind of like the Arkham games, actually, where there's something cartoonish about it, but there's still kind of the ramifications of being in the real world to some extent in terms of physics and whatnot. Beautiful locations, excellent voice work, and if you're a fan of Red Dead Redemption and you're hungering for some more Western stories, I'd give this a shot. And it's also a very cool thing that you can discover little nuggets of truth, as they call it, where you can look up actual stories of the Old West and things that they can talk about and has been proven.
It seems like a pretty solid arcade game that you can get into. I mean, I think I saw it on a sale a couple weeks ago. I didn't manage to pick up on it, but I've heard nothing but good things about that game. Yeah, I mean, initially, when you didn't know much about it, you were kind of hesitant because it had the Call of Juarez name on it, and
the cartel.
That cartel definitely might have put some people off on picking that up initially.
It wasn't just a bad game; it was offensive. The other two Call of Juarez games, they were nowhere even close to being that offensive. It's just Call of Juarez, and then Bound in Blood, which was the next one. It was okay, it's Western Tales. I gotcha. And then the third one was Cartel. It's wow. I think even people from the early, those nice white middle class gentlemen of the 1940s, they wouldn't think this little of the Latino community. It's well, good Lord, what are these people doing? And then they decide oh yeah, we'll go back to actually A, making good games, and B, doing westerns. And maybe they could have made a good western about the modern day cartel and been respectful, but they sure as hell didn't do it there.
God damn.
Yep, goddamn indeed. Also, on one more other game that I wanted to talk about that I was working on that I completed was Azura's Wrath, which is a bit of an oddball choice, because that's not really in the wheelhouse of any genre, because it's partially a playthrough movie almost,
it's a whole quick
interactive
time, it's a whole quick time event game. I do recall playing the demo of it. I mean, that's definitely something that's been on my wheelhouse to play initially when it came out, but it was $60. I for the gameplay that it's presented, it's not. I wasn't really interested in paying full price for it, but I'm sure it's gone down relatively low on price. That's probably something I'll end up picking up. It's almost reminiscent to the kind of exaggeration and just overall insanity of kind of a Dragon Ball Z, which kind of appealed to me. Having a huge explosion and just a shot of the Earth with the aftermath of the explosion.
Now, I'm going to say this, and this is going to sound incredibly tempting because I think you're going to really enjoy it, but it's not indicative of the final product. I don't know, I'm going to say this. Right. It's very reminiscent in style to Bayonetta.
Whoa.
Because it's so ridiculous, there's almost no explanation for the ridiculousness that happens, and the exaggeration is almost the point.
Yeah, that's what I got from it too.
Essentially, Azura is just a guy who's screaming the entire time. He's taking the Gerard Butler from 300 School of Acting, where he's just angry all the time, and that's who he is. And you punch gods and giant monsters and just enemies that are bigger, twice the size of the Earth on a regular basis, and it's so weird and absurd. And then you have these little segments where you do have a kind of beat 'em up
sort of 3D camera beat 'em up sort of system, and that's fun, but it's very underwhelming if you're looking for depth to the combat, because it's just like, oh, punch, hard punch, grapple or special move, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just it's not really a good story. It's just a very interesting execution of style. The damning thing, although, I have to say about it is that it has an ending, and then it has the true ending.
Oh yeah.
To get to the true ending, you need to pay for it.
That's what I heard about that game. That was the kind of the alpha in the room.
Yeah, and I am never going to. I'm not going to do that. I will not ever support a method of just insanity. It just like, okay, we'll give you the real story ending if you pay for it. Like, listen, I'll pay for DLC if it's good. I will pay for a story add-on for a side mission if it's good.
Yeah.
But this is like you're teasing the main true ending, and you're not even giving it to the players. And it's not like, oh, it's the real true ending where you can play an alternate ending that's extended. It's like, essentially, you beat the game, you get the ending, and then you can go back and play like a little bit of an add-on to that ending and say like, ooh, okay, and then here's the next one, and then it's like, oh, you gotta pay for it. Like, that's just cruel and weird.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen the actual ending on YouTube, but is it almost like an extended version of that scene, or just like almost like an alternate ending, or like I guess possibly like a director's cut ending, almost in that way?
It's the Blade Runner unicorn cut, where it's actually, you know what? It's the ending of Azura's Wrath, like the actual game ending without the DLC, is fine, I guess. It's just like, oh, okay, that's it, the end. Mm-hmm. Like, and then it's really annoying because you can't even enjoy that ending because the little spider guy who's been talking to you for the entirety of the game has just been like, oh, you beat the game, but oh, wait a minute, if you unlock these other things, you can get the real ending. It's like, oh, okay, I'll do that. And then and the thing is, you don't play a completely new level. What you do is you play essentially the last level, and then there's a bit of an extended cutscene.
What?
And that's where it cuts. Yeah, and then I don't do it. Don't ever do it. But I don't know if I can recommend it for a buy. Like, maybe if they had a sale and it was like $3,
probably
maybe,
because there's a good rental if there is such a thing these days as rentals. Well, GameFly, yeah,
there is, very, very true. But it's almost cheaper just to buy it like at the sales that they got going on these days. I recall a scene in Asura's Wrath where Asura and his mentor are, for some reason, after a big fisticuff fight, naked in a sauna with two buxom women giving them both sake, and Asura is just completely taken by the enormity of the woman's breasts that he's standing next to, and the whole entire gameplay segment is essentially him either getting more drunk or showing off his nakedness to the woman, and then just ends in another fight. Like, it's so tangential. It's almost a non sequitur joke. It's like a Family Guy cutaway.
Damn! I'm already buying this game as you're speaking. This sounds like my kind of game.
Yeah, it's very, very reminiscent of Bayonetta's kind of humor and tone, in terms of like, they can destroy an entire city and everyone will just be like, oh, they destroyed that thing. Okay. And it's like go on about their day.
I love that. Just absurdity.
The nonchalantness to the destruction that they cause.
Exactly. Well, that's cool. I mean, I'll definitely check it out. There. I don't know if you checked or even bothered once you saw that they have a true ending there. How much is that DLC? If you know,
I don't know. If it's 2 cents, it's still too expensive. It's just doing that is just so underhanded. And I was literally so put off that I didn't even go to YouTube to see the true ending. And in fact, I haven't even considered. I didn't even go back to the game or think about the game until I was looking through my recent history and just saw that on there. I was like, yeah, oh my god, I do remember playing that game.
It offended me with this underhanded DLC.
Or whatever you do, just don't sell me an armored horse, or else there's going to be real hell to pay.
It can't be as worse as that armored horse DLC.
Oh, Oblivion, we love you, but still, armored horse, come on.
It looks cool.
Looks cool, but not with the price.
Well,
remember, like that was the big thing, and now that's like everything is like that's like now a part of everyday life here in video gamedom.
It's almost it's almost an ongoing joke to go on in terms of like unnecessary DLC purchase just for the sake of it, just for purchasing it.
It like I'm trying to think of like what's the most completely not necessary DLC, or like not like most non-effective DLC in history. You know what? Actually, speaking of this, tiny little segue. There is a little indie game called DLC Quest, which I happily picked up, and it was I think $1 or $2, and it's not very long, but it's a funny game and a nice retrospective on the amount of DLC that we put up with, and just the kind of ridiculous notion that like they can take away music, jumping, talking to characters, like moving left, like that's DLC too, and just DLC rung amok, and it's a funny game, and I'd recommend it. I think I did mention this one of these days on one of these episodes.
I mean, just you bringing up not being able to move left or turn left, it just reminds me of. I mean, this could be definitely something they could do for a Zoolander game. You know, you can't turn left.
The ambi-turner.
That's cool. I mean, there's definitely some good games in there. You got to surf through all the crap and Minecraft clones in that Xbox indie market, but there's definitely some good gems there for, I mean, as low as $1 on there. Mm-hmm. Like Mount Your Friends.
I'd pay that for $1.
Mount Your Friends.
Mount Your Friends is a good one, and so is Retro Hero.
Yeah, I played a little bit of that as well. I got a little bit farther than I did before. I beat like one of the bosses that shoots flames at you. You have to like jump. You just keep jumping at an area that it doesn't. Wait. Yeah, the flaming one. Yeah, I beat that one, and then I'm trying to remember if I beat. There's another stage here where you're just jumping above platforms above water. I'm not sure if I beat that one yet, but yeah, I mean, I got farther on that one than I did before. I guess it's just the Dark Souls is making me play it strategically.
And it's easy, which you could do either easy, normal, or hard, and easy is the only one where you have unlimited lives. So it's just, it can be frustrating learning all the maneuvers and the right times to jump, especially when you have limited lives.
Exactly. I think I played it on normal. Yeah, I didn't even notice that there was a difficulty or change in, I guess, mechanics depending on the difficulty. That's interesting to go through. I mean, if you're looking just to go through the game and beat it and not have to worry about the live system, that's definitely the way to go then.
Yeah, it certainly is a nice callback to a time where it was just very simpler, a much simpler time of like, listen, you need to have the right reaction time, and it's not going to be fair, and you're going to get frustrated, but you just got to power on through. So maybe I would like Dark Souls 2
it's that kind of game of just like, listen, you got to just keep on keeping on and understand the rhythm and pattern of things, and just soldier on.
That is the definition of Dark Souls, my good sir. You have learned that true idea of Dark Souls. Now you have to put that idea in practice and play Dark Souls.
I'm the learner who has now become the master.
It'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the whole shebang of what I've been playing.
Awesome. So, yeah, I'm not sure if you have anything else that you wanted to touch on that may have gone on in the realm of video games during the time we've been away since the last episode. I think we've covered most of everything. We got the things that we usually do. I like definitely talking about what we've been playing, and anything relating to some events that happen in the world of news. I like that, and
yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm also considering, since I do have a 3DS, I'm considering possibly playing that new Yoshi's New Island. I'm considering it.
Ooh, yeah, I've heard good.
I've heard average to good things about it. I don't know. I'll probably give it a shot, but yeah, I'm still not sold completely on the look of it. That's what I loved about the original one. It was just that 2D kind of crayon look to it. Like the Yoshi and Mario, like some of the enemies are just like 3D models. I'm not a huge fan of it. If they just stuck with the regular 2D models for that, I think I'd be happy for it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, Rayman is completely 2D and is successful as all hell. So I mean, it's a good looking game. So I guess it was just more of a design choice on going that route. Since it's on the 3DS, it's got to be 3D model of Yoshi.
Well, it's hard, even if it's not the same art style. It's nice that they at least recognize that like Yoshi's Island had a big following and people were still very interested in. And hey, I mean, they made another iteration in the franchise, and so good on them for that. Even if it didn't turn out the best.
I really hope that they put out a downloadable version on the Nintendo eShop of Yoshi's Island, so you can play it on the 3DS. I really hope they do that. I'd definitely pay at least $5 for it. I mean, I think that's decent enough. I know that they have some Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games available for download, like that you can play on the 3DS, which is pretty cool. It's almost similar to like the Virtual Console on the Wii. For the 3DS. I mean, it'd be cool if they actually did that for Yoshi's Island. I'd definitely love to play Yoshi's Island on the 3DS. That soundtrack, I love that soundtrack.
Yeah, that was a damn good soundtrack. I only played a bit of it back in Australia, but just damn, that was really, really good. I like that.
Yeah, and it just creative different boss battles, and I just love a good old platformer.
Baby Bowser final boss battle, man, that was epic.
Baby Bowser, yes.
It's like they have that like guitar wailing in the background, like do 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 do.
Almost sounds like I was worried it was gonna blow out my speakers when I was a kid. I mean, it was just so intense. So
it felt like a cat was being strangled in the distance. Nope, that's in the game.
Yeah, just good old times of Yoshi's Island. I'll definitely give it a shot. Maybe one day, either download it or get it down in price. To get the cartridge of it, and I mean either or. I mean, I think it's very. I like the convenience of just you're pretty much paying almost the same price digitally and comparatively to when you buy it as just a physical kind of cartridge version of it. Sometimes it'll go down in price eventually, but I like the convenience of just being able to download it, because those 3DS games don't aren't necessarily the biggest download files you'll be downloading. I mean, the highest you'll be downloading is probably at least a gig. So I mean, it's not like you're downloading a huge AAA game or anything like that.
Downloading Ground Zeroes on there.
No, not Ground Zeroes, but I like that, just the convenience of it. So that's why I'm digging the 3DS now. I haven't played it in a while. Just been occupied with some Dark Souls 2.
I recently celebrated my birthday with some gifts, including How to Archer, which is something I've had on my list for a long time, which is by Sterling Archer. Yeah, for everybody, it's a really funny how-to book. There's nothing informational in here. The only thing that's actually informative is maybe drinks. He goes into a large section of how many of the drinks he likes, and he keeps complaining that there's not a chapter that the company that contracted him to write this for doesn't want him to make a chapter about cobras, and it's actually a really funny book. So and it's also hilarious if you just imagine it being read by the voice actor of Sterling Archer, just in that voice and in that droll tone, and then just being very witty and sarcastic when he wants to be.
Definitely. I mean, if it's anything of the kind of creative and hilarious writing of those fellas that did C-Lab and Friskadingo, which most likely is. I mean, I'll probably definitely enjoy that read. It's a nice, good coffee table book.
Absolutely. The first two seasons of Archer, and this most recent one that's currently ongoing, Archer Vice. I think that's the best writing that Adam Reed and his team have done in probably ever. And that's coming from someone who absolutely loved Frisky Dingo. And a lot of the episodes of C-Lab, my favorite episode, the one that I still remember, is where Dr. Quinn puts everyone's brains in a robot body. I was hurting laughing so hard just from the absolutely nonsense that this was going on. Then they turn out to be the A-Team at the end.
Yeah, it was great, and the one with I think the whole episode was just a shot. A shot of C-Lab, and then it was just completely pitch black. So all you saw that whole episode was just the C-Lab and the fishes passing by, and then just them trying to fix the electricity to turn the lights back on.
Yeah, or Captain Murphy getting lost in C-Lab and trying to find a golf pro shop. Oh my god! Adam Reed, he has that weird mix of humor, which is it's pop culture, but it's pop culture that's way too dated to be relevant anymore. Who in the world makes a joke about Harrison Bergeron?
I wouldn't.
Or Bartleby the Scrivener, written by Herman Melville. Yeah, and so the book is very kind of reflective of that kind of comedy style as well, especially with the character that's it's in keeping with the character on the show Archer.
That's good to hear, because I remember talking about Archer a little bit with you a few episodes ago, and you saying that the first two seasons weren't doing it for you as much. I think it seems like it's getting a bit better now. I guess the writing this season for Archer Vice.
Oh, the thing is that I love the writing in the first two seasons. I think the first season is just a masterpiece. The second one, not so much, and it kind of dips down after that. But after the story where Archer tries to become a pirate king, that's where it starts to go downhill a little bit, where they don't really know what they're doing, and the jokes feel like a lot of rehashments on some stuff. But they've really picked it up with this season. I think they really realized okay, we can't really just rely on our old laurels or our old jokes anymore, and we have to kind of branch out and try something new. And I think they definitely have a winner on their hands with this one. So, just watch the first season of Archer. If you like it, keep going. If it doesn't do anything for you, then it's not going to do anything for you. But I think this is right now. It's the 5th season that's currently online. Not online, but like on air.
Could be online too.
It could be online too on some less than reputable websites, but just go. I'd definitely check out the first 2 seasons. You can kind of skip the 3rd and 4th ones if you don't really want to sit through all that. But
there's not too much episodes between seasons. Like I think it's still keeping the same, I guess, episode amount each season. Like, was it about
13?
13 episodes, yeah, something like that. Yeah, I mean, I did see the few first episodes of the first season. I liked what I watched, but I lost track of watching it. So that's usually the case with me in TV shows. I lose track of I get lost behind episodes, and I never have the time or willingness to catch up on them. So that's definitely one of them. That and Justified and some other shows I can go on and on about that I really enjoy, but I just lost track and I haven't caught up since. It's too much for me to catch up on.
Yeah, just like I'm trying to watch as much TV as I can so I can have something to talk about. It's like, but even like the best shows you've seen are probably not going to be in the same circle of shows of the best shows that your friends have seen, because there's so much good TV these days. Like, there's The Walking Dead, which has finally hit a really good stride, and Game of Thrones, Justified, the new seasons of the TV shows that they have on NBC and ABC and Fox and everything. And I've started to get it, like, my cousin and her father watch Arrow, and now I'm getting into that, and it's like, okay, now it's kind of like a violent, more, higher production cost of Smallville, and it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting, but damn it, I'm gonna spend all my day just like watching TV. I can't do this.
You get lost in that void of TV. I hear you. Too much media to consume, and so much little time. You feel you gotta prioritize them.
C'est la vie. But that's all that's really going on this angle over here. What about you? What have you been watching?
Not much, man. I've been just gaming and keeping the work life going. That's mainly been the thing. I've been too tired to watch much of anything. I've got a lot of stuff on backlog I gotta watch. I'll probably do that the days that I'm off, which is tomorrow and Thursday. I'll definitely sit back, rest my eyes for a bit from Dark Souls, and tune into some Netflix and some episodes that I've been meaning to watch of some Hell on Wheels that I didn't watch the last season of. I got all of them available for me to watch, and I want to check out the show Black Sails. It's like a pirate show on Stars. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I think it's I've heard that's going to be one of those shows that may pick up some heat, almost kind of similar to the Game of Thrones. It seems like it's got a good production value, and hell, I mean, I love pirates, so I think I could get down with that.
Oh yeah, and that also seems like and that seems like a weird show too to get really good reviews and praise just because it's from Michael Bay. It's being produced by him, so it's like, that's interesting. I wanted to see how that turns out. And then you also have Vikings and this is Game of Thrones level. Oh, come on.
Game of Thrones. Yes. Love me some Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'm catching up. Don't spoil anything yet. I've already had the Red Wedding spoiled for me, so...
Aw, damn.
Yeah, I couldn't avoid that spoiler if I tried.
That was tough. Yeah, I mean, I saw it coming because I read the books, but I think it was better executed in the show than I remember it in the books. That was just brutal. It was an awesome night of TV that the night that aired. So that was definitely, even if you were in a cave, you could hear it. You can hear the rumblings of the reactions in the distance. So that was hard to avoid.
George R.R. Martin is not happy until you're crying.
He's not happy till people stop asking him about when he's finished with the other books. He's like, he's still got 2 books to write, and the TV show's almost catching up to the books. So that's crazy.
Well, then they're gonna have to make filler episodes of, like, I don't know, Jon Snow trying to find his car keys or something.
Yeah, they throw in cars all of a sudden. Like,
why not?
Oh, Jon Snow, we gotta go back to the future. Doc Brown showing up.
Oh my God! If they had Christopher Lloyd show up there, it's like, oh yes, please. And then they go to the future. It's like, we have to deal with your descendant. And then it's like, of course, Jon Snow, being a bastard child of the Stark family, goes into the future where he meets Tony Stark. It's like, oh, it's your descendant, Tony.
Your kid's Jon Snow.
Your kid's an asshole.
Fantastic. So definitely, we'll catch up on what we've been possibly watching. Definitely some gaming as well on the next time we go ahead and do this again. So I think we covered up pretty much everything we wanted to discuss here today. I mean, we had a great amount of discussions here on many things, good sir. Many things, gaming, Irrational, some Ground Zeroes, some TV. A lot of things were covered this episode. I feel that this is a good one here. Man, if you don't have anything else that you want to talk about, I think this is better time than ever. Then go ahead and wrap this up here and say our goodbyes. Get those plugs in. Get the shout outs. The message of the day.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta keep remembering to tweet out. I mean, whenever we hopefully get some type of consistent schedule on things, I definitely gotta send out the tweets. Let the people know that send us questions as always. I mean, any time is a good time to send us some questions to the podcast. You can tweet us at Splitter47 and at ch_Gorog. Your all tweets are welcome. So that we got that there out of the way. We got the iTunes as usual. You can check us out on iTunes. Currently working on possibly the links from the past episodes. Apparently, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I think my account that I posted this episodes on through iTunes may have been deleted. So some of the old archives may not be available at this time, but they'll be all accessible. Remember this on my YouTube channel. I like that. I got that plug-in. To the YouTube channel. So that's your, at this time, main source for most of the past few episodes. I have not. I remember when we first originally started, I had a pretty good catalog of backups and archives of the episodes. Not so much recently. Like I remember I used to put it on the kind of on the cloud, as you would say. I remember I used to do that a lot, but that just takes up too much time to upload them. I upload them to like 3 different places. So I try to maintain it down to just 2.
The cloud is definitely a precarious position to place your information and stuff like that, especially where it takes a while. And iTunes is a little bit floody back and forth. I think I've got some of the podcasts saved on my on the hard drive here, so we still got those in case we need to ever drudge them on up.
Yeah, if anyone was ever gonna marathon all the episodes, I mean, good on you. I mean, I appreciate that. I wouldn't do it myself, but the evolution of Bloody Thumbs podcast, that'd be an interesting montage. If that ever gets created, that'd be interesting. But so yeah, we got the iTunes there, and as usual, we don't bring it up as much because I mean, it's not a huge deal, but you can always go to the audibletrial.com/bloodythumbs. That if you sign up for that free 30-day trial for Audible. I mean, we talked about it before. Audible is an amazing service. I mean, if you sign up for it, I mean, you got nothing to lose. You're trying it out for 30 days, and
free
also,
service, free books.
I mean, it helps out the show. I mean, we put in all the money towards contest or any equipment we might need for that, for the good old podcast to stay up and running.
Yeah, it's always something that we want to do, and I'm still a subscriber to Audible.com to this day. Free credits every month for a free book. Ooh. And check us out on YouTube, on Twitter, and on the Better Gaming Bureau website.
Exactly.
And, I think we've covered the bases, and let's head on back to home.
We're gonna head out. Take care of yourselves, people. Be kind. Be kind to others. Be courageous. Don't bully.
Don't charge people for the true ending for your story on your video game. That's just not cool.
Yeah, I mean, at least make it free, like the Mass Effect Extended Cut, for God's sakes. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, get something bolstering. Get something that makes people want to buy your ending. Come on, guys.
Yes.
Come on.
Keep that in mind. So, thank you all for listening. As always, I'm Splinter47 signing off.
I am C.H. Gorog. Have a very good evening, afternoon, morning, whenever.
Have a good one, people.
Bye-bye.